So, what is the system's answer to what I believe is the system's problem? Systems problem, Rammett's the theory. The structure and process of education is batch processing of human beings for the theoretical, accumulative installation of knowledge. What you have in your handouts is a couple of things that one of my kids wrote about the truth of how much of the content they memorize, actually sticks. This kid who wrote that, off the chart, stone genius kid. And it's her words and I love it. And like you said, don't let it be my words, let it be the kids' words. So, there's also, by the way, and I'll just allude to this here, in my bio in the thing, there is a link, a place to go to YouTube, to a playlist called Education for Good. And it's a double entendre. We're crazy, we're killing our children. Deming used to say, in American manufacturing, we have a man who burns the toast. Later, we have a man who scrapes the toast. This is what we're doing to our children. We set them against one another when they're 6 and 7 years old. We tell all but the few top ones they're already losers. They're already losers. They know they're losers. They already know they're not going to be the cream of the crop by the time they're 8. And then we're shocked that we have bullies. And now we've got Massachusetts and they're going to pass an anti-bullying law. What Deming would say? You're scraping the toast. In my class, no one ever sits alone, isolated, alone, frightened in a room. You know what you do? The first thing you do if you got somebody who's alone, isolated, not popular, you find a real project, you find the most popular kid in the room, you put those two together, throw in a football player just for fun, and by the time those people have accomplished something, you have community. We don't know how to build community, but it's very easy to do. So I'm going to close with your little handout here. It's called Operation Atlas Hub. And what I would like to say, what I'd like to propose from my Vulcan perspective of a complete new system of thinking about education and entrepreneurship and the economy is, instead of our theory of how people learn being ram it in and they will remember, I invite you to think about spirit, strengths, passions, and interests, relationships, individuality, and trust. Quick words that come from, I only have my kids ever buy 2 books in my class ever. This is one of them, Strengths and Leadership. Gallup, they've done interviews with 2 million people saying, you know who succeeds? The people who do their passion in life. What do we tell kids? Put your passion aside and do what you're told for 16 years. These guys know, find your strengths. So I always have my kids do this. Find your strengths, and their message is, find your strengths and maximize them and find a way to manage your weaknesses. Relationships. God, you guys have all spoken to it. I don't even have to. If you look on YouTube at my list, my kids will sit there and say to you, I sat in class after class. I never knew the name of the person to the left of me. I never knew the name of the person to the right of me. What the hell kind of system is this? As far as I'm concerned, you ought to come out of school with a Rolodex of 500 people. Everybody ought to know a DA. Everybody ought to know an IP geek. Everybody ought to know an artist. Instead, we isolate them forever. Here's the structure and process in my proposed system, and I'll conclude. I believe that if we teach students, both young and old, I tell you what, you go back to grad school today, they're going to make you memorize and regurgitate crap. It's like, no, we grew up. Here's how, after all these years I learned watching entrepreneurs for 30 years and being one of them, here's how entrepreneurs actually learn and grow. 1, they do real things. Real things, not sit there and read and talk about it. 2, they have ongoing peer support, those forums. Some of these people in YEO that I know have been in forums for more than 20 years. Peer support. 3, mentoring and being mentored. Always important, always important. You learn what you teach, so forth. Technology. I could go on just like you for days. Here's my fun Star Trek thing this is how I think we need to think about technology in schools. It should be CC Trek. Technology should be used to collaborate, to connect, and to access trustworthy, reliable experience and knowledge. Technology for education sure help people do that, and I propose the Great Library at Alexandria machine, if HP wants to build it, that we get in every kid's hands. Ethos. This is, Mark, what you were talking about. What I learned from YEO, the Young Entrepreneurs Organization, is you need a little bit of an ethos to minimize would say lawyers. An ethos that makes your activities high level and low friction. I gotta tell you, just Google's don't do evil is a good start. That's a good start. If I would add, I might only add and lend a hand where you can. You know what the Ten Commandments, now you got dogma and you're back to madness. But an ethos that makes the place high leverage and low friction. And finally, cultivate serendipity. I mean, I bumped into you last night. Who the hell knows? You never know who you're going to meet, and if you're a real entrepreneur, you know damn well that serendipity is going to play a big role in your life. What happens then is, instead of all of this theoretical stuff that kids are doing, they're doing living case studies. And I will kind of, I don't want to go on too long. I've gone on too long already. The 4 H's of innovators, as I said in the beginning: hustle with honor, help and be helped. Do real things. Do it in community. One thing I would say, Ada and to Linda, about business plan competitions: peachy keen, it's real. Get all excited. It's more real than most of the other crap. Here's the next thing. Do a venture launch collaboration. Instead of setting all these groups against one another, here's what I did. You get 8 groups of people who are starting a company. Any one of those companies goes forward, those people share 80% of the equity. Everybody else in the room shares 20%. Because if I'm sitting here and I got a movie business dream, real dream as an entrepreneur, and somebody in the corner's nephew, or say Larry, knows Andre Lake Mayer, who worked for George Lucas for years, it is the stupidest thing on God's earth for me to be incentivized by this competition to not help him do his dream. Little switch, but you can move from a venture plan competition to a venture launch collaboration and figure out a new way to do it. There's Ellis Island on my little printout, which again, this is the greatest country on earth. And if we got to fix our education system so that we have a rapid deployment economic plan that transforms education, fosters entrepreneurship and education, and creates massive new wealth and broad equity ownership among free, passionate, thinking citizens.
For several years, I've been looking at which button turns her on and off. And I've never been able to find it. What?
I said we had so much fun while you looked.
One of the things Kate did not mention is she wrote the book Beyond IBM some years ago. I don't know what this was supposed to be for.
Oh, that's the coolest.
While I get Bill hooked up here.
While you get Bill hooked up, I'll do this.
This book, my favorite bookstore in the village, which is called...
She lives in Greenwich Village.
Greenwich Village. The Unprecedented Non-Imperialist Bargain Bookstore. This thing, this is a time of innovation and invention. It is so cool. Yeah, there you go. Love this thing. Now, my suggestion is, right now, we are where the Wright brothers' dad was sitting in the audience of the Commission of Patent and Trademark. The Commissioner of Patent and Trademark said, shut down it. The Commission, we've invented everything. No, we have only begun to invent. And if we can unleash in our educational systems people's ability to create, rather than their ability to obey and memorize, this thing will get infinitely longer. That was my last one. Thank you. That's it, honey.
You're done?
Yeah, finally. But
For the moment.
Don't give me a breath, because something else going to happen.
You're contagious, my dear.